All right, let's talk about the new race for global power. And I'm not talking about missiles, I'm talking about reactors. In this explainer, we're going to break down how one country has built a lead that is, frankly, almost impossible to believe. Let's get into how China won the new nuclear energy race. You know, throughout history, it's always been the same story. Whoever controls the energy controls the future. And that has never been more true than it is right now. Just think about it. The world's energy demand, it's on track to nearly double by 2050. And it's all being driven by technologies that are completely rewriting our world from the ground up. Yeah, every single one of these things, AI, electric vehicles, all those data centers, they are incredibly power hungry. We're talking staggering amounts of electricity. But here's the kicker. America's energy grid, it's falling dangerously short. I mean, to meet this new demand, the US needs to ramp up power generation by something like 50% by 2040. Right now, it's only on track for about 20%. That's a huge gap. So how do you fill a gap that big? Well, right now, on a global scale, there's really only one source that can do it quickly and cleanly: nuclear energy. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. In the last 50 years, the United States has managed to build just 2 new plants. And today, they're building exactly 0. I mean, nuclear power is just incredibly efficient. It's clean. Yeah, that big cloud you see coming out of the towers, that's just steam. It's water vapor. And it makes the country independent of foreign oil. This is exactly why America used to be the world leader here. They had plans for 250 reactors all across the country. So what happened? Okay, this is where the story splits. This is where the paths just completely diverge. We're about to see how a shared starting point led to 2 totally different outcomes. Because while one part of the world was basically paralyzed by fear, the other saw a massive, massive opportunity. So this timeline really shows what I'm talking about, this great divergence. What's absolutely fascinating is how Western progress just stopped. It stalled after the 3 Mile Island accident in '79. And get this, despite all the panic, that incident resulted in 0 deaths and no real environmental harm. But the fear, that fear, especially when you add Chernobyl to the mix, brought everything to a dead stop. And it was right then, during this exact period of hesitation in the West, that China started its strategic long-term build-out. And this quote, this just perfectly captures the difference in mindset. While the West was reacting to short-term events, to public panic, China was busy laying the foundation for its long-term energy future. They were thinking in generations, not just election cycles. Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty of where things actually stand today. And I'll warn you, the numbers are pretty startling. They paint a very clear picture. So, yeah, if you look at what's operating right now, the US still has more reactors, but that lead is just vanishing. Take a look at those other 2 columns, under construction and proposed. China is set to more than quadruple its fleet. They're going to dwarf America as the world's nuclear leader within a decade. And meanwhile, the entire European Union, they have just 1 single reactor under construction. 1. But it's not just how many reactors China is building, it's how efficiently they're doing it. In America, the costs have just exploded. It makes new projects almost impossible for private companies to even consider. But in China, the exact opposite has happened. Their costs have steadily gone down as they've built more and, just gotten better and faster at it. So why the huge cost difference? Well, China basically mastered the manufacturing mindset that America itself pioneered 100 years ago with the Ford assembly line. They treat building a nuclear plant like it's a product to be improved on over and over again. But in the US, that idea just never caught on for nuclear. Instead, every single plant became this unique, one-of-a-kind project, which just drove up costs and timelines every single time. And this brings us to something called Small Modular Reactors, or SMRs for short. Now, this is basically the next generation of nuclear tech. The whole idea is that they can be mass-produced in a factory, which makes them way cheaper and faster to set up. They're absolutely vital for powering the future of AI, and that's why you see tech giants pouring billions into R&D. But here's the thing, China is already winning this race too. They, along with Russia, already have SMRs up and running. So you add all this up, and you're looking at a staggering technology gap. I mean, some estimates put China a decade, maybe even 15 years ahead of America. They just recently started operating the world's first 4th-generation reactor, which is a design that's way safer and more efficient. And get this, they developed over 90% of the technology for it all by themselves.
This massive gap, it isn't just about the technology. It's really about two fundamentally different systems, different economic and political systems, tackling the exact same problem from completely opposite directions.
And this really gets to the heart of it. In America, money flows to where the short-term profit is. And nuclear plants are the opposite of that. They're massive, long-term, high-risk projects. I mean, just look at Westinghouse, one of America's biggest energy companies. They went bankrupt after the cost for a single reactor project blew up from $14 billion to $34 billion. Now, in China, if the state decides a reactor gets built, it gets built. End of story. So even with the US government now talking about a nuclear renaissance, America is facing a seriously uphill battle. Its domestic supply chain for this stuff, it's practically gone. And its only current supplier for the special kind of uranium needed for these new SMRs, it's Russia. Rebuilding all of that could literally take decades, all while China just keeps speeding up. And that brings us to the next frontier. Fusion, the holy grail of clean energy. For now, the research is pretty neck and neck. But here is the crucial difference to understand. When a breakthrough finally happens, China is in a much better position to actually build it and build it fast. Their entire industrial system has already proven it can turn a new technology into real-world infrastructure at a speed the West just can't seem to match anymore. So it all comes down to a pretty fundamental question. If nuclear power is the foundation for the 21st century, then this isn't really much of a race, is it? It's more like one country is flooring it in a supercar, while the other is just trying to get out of a wheelchair it put itself in 50 years ago. So you have to ask, what does the world really look like when America is number two?